Oh. Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Two and a Half Salesman Podcast. I'm your host Mario, together with my co-host Julio.
Hello there.
Julio, welcome. How are you, man?
Very good, mate. Very good. I'm enjoying the non-existent sunshine in Prague. What about you?
Same here, my friends. Same here. So, are you feeling motivated today? I'm so sorry. I had to do it. This is so cringy.
You just demotivated me. Just so you know.
So, ladies and gentlemen, today's topic is one of, as you would say, ages. It is how to stay motivated in sales and avoid sales burnout. So, kind of the topic, the topic of motivation really was kind of ongoing for years and years and years. But the second part, like avoiding burnout, that came kind of in the spotlight with COVID and lockdowns and all of that. So Julia and I decided to tackle the topic today. I am a huge fan of several shitty jokes. I am a huge fan of several systems, like the one that Daniel Pink writes in his drive, and we will definitely talk about that one as well. But also the concept of flow with Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, which is one of my all-time favorite books. So yeah, let's kick it off.
Let's dive in. Let's dive in. I would say I'm gonna skip the second topic to start with, just because I think it's such a baseline topic these days, and I'm gonna avoid the work talk entirely, and I'm gonna start by saying the first baseline for me is physical exercise, sleep, and a healthy diet. That's it. Like that's where the avoiding burnout starts.
And looking fantastic, as all Italians do.
Absolutely. That's a part of it. That's a part of it. I actually genuinely believe that we're talking so much. I'm actually getting a bit annoyed with all this talk about people want to work less. People want to work less because they do jobs they don't like, right? If you're doing a job you like, you don't mind working. Like it's actually you love it, right? And I think it's quite important that the people that don't like sales should get the fuck out of sales as soon as possible, because it's just going to be blood and tears later. But if you are in sales and you're struggling, chances are the rest of your life is probably not in tune. What do you think about this?
This is an interesting notion, man. I was not like this maybe 10, 15 years ago. Today I'm all about balance, right? So balance in personal life, in business life, balance with family, so balance all around. And I wasn't like this. I would do one of like a 10, 12-hour benders in work.
Right? So, I did it outside of work as well, to be fair.
Yeah. So, look, when we talk about motivation, so now I'll kick it off, and it ties into the burnout itself. Is that you do have two types of motivation, and Daniel Pink talks about it. So I will kind of bring him in very early into our conversation. That is external and internal, or extrinsic and intrinsic, as he says, right? So external, meaning depending on the factors that are outside of you. So especially when you're working in sales, I kind of get like a weird vibe from people when I say money doesn't motivate me. I want to still be paid fairly. I still want to be paid the amount that I think I'm worth, right? But money money itself is simply not a motivator for me. Like money on itself. And I think, and we did mention Peja. Peja taught me a really, really good thing years back, when money becomes a value, that's a big problem, especially for the company.
True. I agree. I mean, I think we're having a bit of the first world problems conversation, because
True.
I think like money doesn't motivate me either, because I'm at a point that I don't have to worry about it. And I remember my first year in sales,
Not worrying too much.
well, not
I
worrying
would
too
say.
much, yeah. But like I remember my first year in sales, the first time I got like a $5,000 paycheck, I was like, oh my God. I didn't even know where to spend it, right? So
Uh,
I think it's once you get to the account executive and you're making like, 60, 70 grand plus a year, then money becomes less of a motivator. I think at the beginning, when your life is very different, if you don't come from money, I think money can still be a motivator. But I agree, it can't be the fundamental value. Absolutely.
yes, it comes back to the giant research, and Pink mentions this in his book. It's something that is called a baseline reward. Right? So if for all of you who haven't read, just go pick up Drive. The Surprising Truth What Motivates is a fantastic book. I have it on speed dial here. When I say speed dial, I mean actual speed dial. It says like people should be paid fairly, which means that when it comes end of the month, you don't have to worry about money. Or end of the month or first of the month, whatever. That's the baseline reward, and then everything else, then the true intrinsic motivation kicks into place, right? And I'll slide it a little bit into the burnout, and then we can come back, kind of go back and forth. Burnout comes from a different factors. One being inability to do the work for whatever reasons, lack of training. As you said, people don't like what they're doing, not just in sales, I would say anywhere. And then I would say bad environment, like bad workplace environment, right?
Yeah. I think that's probably the one of the, I think bad environment and bad manager are the number two reasons why people. Actually, I don't want to go too much down the route, because leaders get so much shit all the time, and being a manager is really hard. But I think a lot of people cause themselves the burnout because they stress themselves unnecessarily, right?
What do you mean by that?
I think there's a lot of anxiety about things that aren't real, no sleeping at night because that deal might not close. It's like you have no control. You can just work on the controllables rather than stressing about the not controllables, right? And it's easier said than done. So I don't want to go into a long rant about this, but I think there's a part of what you can control and a part of like what's important to you. Like if you get bullied by your manager, or you have like shitty paying conditions or impossible markets to work in, then it's very different, I would say.
Yes, it comes down to what you can control and what you cannot control. So always work on areas that you actually can control, and then try to expand those areas if it's possible. If it's not possible, my advice is either make it so that don't influence you, or just get out of the situation altogether.
Well, actually tying to the controllable and uncontrollable for motivation and burnout, one of the things that's my previous company ran wildly successfully was sales competitions. We were really good at it. Okay. Yeah. We would literally spike performance by 30% in 1 month of a competition. And the funny things would be like that the ones that worked the best were the one where you put it under control. So it wasn't about sales, because you can't control how many deals go in a certain amount of time. But we did it a lot about meetings, right? So how many meetings, because that you can control generally, right? Well, better than you can control sales. Let's put it this way. Because you can control the timeline a little bit better. So we did it like in this controllable deliverable that you could achieve quite fast, and that creates a lot of momentum. So I think it's quite important when you're trying to motivate that you give targets they are in the control of the salesperson rather than outside of their control. Because then they get demotivated if they don't achieve them.
Yeah, I mean, we did a whole episode on sales targets and sales planning, and I would say that is a part of it. But a part of it comes from I would say the why, right? So if for you who are maybe not of you, but familiar with NLP, both Julie and I are NLP practitioners, and there is this nice guy called Robert Dilts, invented logical levels, and one of the levels is purpose or beliefs, right? And then Simon Sinek came and stole everything from him without attributing, but that's another episode. Scammers of the world. I dislike him.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
But coming back to Robert Dilts, right? So Robert Dilts introduced logical levels. One of the logical levels is purpose, right? So purpose and beliefs. But let's talk like, why are you doing this? What is something that is like fulfilling you from the inside? Like what is there more? Like and I learned this, and again, coming back to Pedja, basically he taught me if you achieve this, like what will you get then? Like what happens then if you achieve? So you set a goal, so assume that you will achieve it. What will you get out of it? And that really helped me kind of to granulate all the way down.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it's again, we can, without even going to drive, you can look at Atomic Habits, right? And the idea of breaking down like the
excellent book,
the targets in a way. I think a lot of the motivation, a lot of the problems with motivation is that we try to set these big goals, right? And let's say you want to lose weight or gain muscles, and they try to think like, I want a six-pack, right? Well, screw the six-pack. What's the first thing you can do is do 10 crunches. You know, you start from there and you eat one less bar of chocolate, you know, like, and you start from small things. And this is what will motivate you, is the completing the task, the checklist. So I think for the sales leaders or the sellers that are listening to this, is the logic of trying to think about what is it, something that you can control, you can achieve, and then trying to motivate yourself just to do that task. And once you check it, you'll actually get the release of dopamine or whatever, and you'll be more motivated the second day, right?
And one of the things I would just add here, this is actually a very good point, is I would just celebrate small victories, however small they are. Schedule the meeting, clap it, close the deal. Maybe the deal is not as big as you thought. All right, it closed. It closed. Plan successful, do their job. Have full faith in them, and that will grow over time. So celebrate like small victories. We in the internal hustle that everyone is nowadays, especially when we are talking all doom and gloom and developers that are out of jobs and getting harder and harder to get sales. We are in a constant hustle mode, and then we forget to celebrate.
True.
Especially the tiny victories, small victories.
I think it's really a lot about this, and probably for the sales leaders that are struggling, because right now there's a lot of obviously recession talk, buyers are scared. It's quite a difficult time overall. I think one of the logics is to try and figure out what small wins can I let my team achieve so that we build momentum again. Because when you're stuck in a slump, all you can see is down, right? And
all you can see is down.
Exactly. You're not seeing the getting out of the.
I learned this. Hole. This is excellent, man. I learned this thing years ago, and I completely forgot about it. And now you kind of got it out of me. So one of my friends, I'm like, I met him maybe little less than 20 years ago. He's one hell of a sales guy and a sales manager. he owns the company and all that stuff. He taught me, I lost my train of thought at this specific moment. I wanted,
You see, you went too big. You went too big.
I went too big. And this is what happens when we derail. I'll get back. And try speaking about something else that motivates people, and I will remember what I wanted to say.
I was actually having a conversation with one of my ex right hand from my previous work last night, and I used to be a really shit manager, right? I used to really put the fear of God into people, right? And I don't recommend this to anybody, by the way. It created me a lot of problems. At the same time, one thing that I do think is that we are sometimes scared of having the simple feedback-based conversations because we're scared about how the person is going to react, right? And sometimes that can be more motivating than anything else. Yeah. I always remember, like my ex-boss used to say, if you can give someone a written warning and they walk out of their room feeling motivated, then you've done a great job.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel that we're so focused on the positive that there is still that part. You still need to hear someone shout, or maybe not shout, but someone tell you what the hell you're doing to get your shit together, right? And I think that's also part of motivation. And it's a tool in the toolbox that everyone doesn't want to talk about, but it's important. Fear is also a motivator, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is what I learned. I learned not to sugarcoat, but I learned not to sugarcoat, especially when I'm leading my, or when talking with my team members. From day one, I'm always 100% honest with them. I tell them, this is what's happening in the industry. This is what's happening in our company. This is where we are. This is what you can expect. I never make promises that I can't keep. And my salespeople, when we have these, let's say, call them tough conversations, I'm always 100% honest with them. This is what you did good. This is what could be better. This is where you actually excel. Right? And when I had a conversation with one of my sales guys who's kind of, let himself go.
That always happens.
Yeah, that happens sometimes, right? And he like I told him, look, man, this is not how you do it. Like, what is, and I literally brought him up to legacy, right? So I didn't use the word legacy, but I got him up to that level. Like, at one point, if you decide to leave, how will you be remembered here? Are you going to leave on a high note? Are they going to cry? Or are they going to say, finally, we got rid of this, and then whatever adjective they use. So how will you leave the company? Or are you leaving it better off than it was when you joined? Right? And that type of a conversation, just being very honest, and then getting them to a high level, basically telling, look, you are not putting in hours, you're not putting in the work. Like, the data is clear on this. How will you be remembered? And that literally, like, I see it in a feed, like, he's scheduled 2 discoveries today. And 1 demo. So moved it from discovery to demo.
Yeah, you just tapped into his, again, the higher level type of motivation, not that just, you can get $500 from this, or you can get $2,000, whatever. You tapped into the real, again, which, to some people, that's not going to work at all. I'm not going to give a flying fuck. They'll be like, I don't care. And then while some others will be like, well, actually, that fires me up. And I think that's really the job of a manager, is to try and figure out what is it that the person is truly looking for to be fulfilled, right? Yeah.
That was always for me, whenever I talk with salespeople, like, what drives you? Like, why are you here? All right, you gotta put food on the table, fine. You gotta pay rent. You as well as me are fan of not dying over the winter. But like, what else is out there, man? Like, what else kind of keeps you going? And I think those are the things that we need to teach our reps. Or if you are a rep watching this, to try to find it for yourself. What is the deeper motivation? Because, I remembered the thing that I forgot. When the entire team is in the slumps, guys that sell are guys that know how to sell. So it's not the one the most enthusiasm. It's not the ones that are new, that are fresh. No, when the team's doing badly, the ones that are gonna sell are the ones who know how to do sell, who can rely on their skills to get them through the slump. And my advice to everyone kind of experiencing a slump and maybe heading towards the burnout, especially in this economy, what do you know? Like, what are the skills that you can rely? What are the basics? Just go back to the basics and go from there. That's the thing that I forgot violently on air.
I think that the basics are, I think generally for life, most of the time, if you just do the basics right, you actually get, this is the Pareto law.
What do you mean? What do you mean for in life?
Like, okay, let me give
me a little bit more on this.
Let me give you a stupid example. You want to feel happier? Sleep at night. You know, you want to feel more productive? Stop spending 4 hours watching Netflix. You know, like usually the simplest solution is the right one, right? And in sales, it's very simple. Like, I remember there was a point I was stuck in a slump, and then one day I get out of the slump and I look at my friends and I'm like, well, what did I do? It's like, and literally, I will always remember Mario, one of my employees and still one of my good friends. He looks at me, he's like, it's very simple. You just started getting on the phone again. Yeah, it was that simple. I just picked up the phone, like, like well, why am I stuck in a slump? Well, I'm not calling enough. It's the basics. It's always about, if you want to be motivated, work on the basics.
Always get to basics. And I'll come back to one of the points that, because this currently dominates my life, is the Americans call it work-life balance, but I just call it balanced life. Because there is no work-life balance. There is only a balanced life. Right?
True.
So try to find balance in your life. Everyone is working hard. Everyone is working long hours. It's never been harder to make a sale, and it's just going to be more difficult because with rise of AI, with rise of I would say AI-based startups that are targeting the top of the funnel, it's going to be a lot of noise. A whole lot of noise. And everyone, if you thought you got 100 emails per day, this is now going to turn into thousands.
True. Yeah, like I think it's again, I hear a lot of people complaining about the recession, and again, for me, the simplest solution is just do more prospecting. You know, like well, but it's hard. Well, if it's hard, like that's how you get it done. There's not really much else to discuss here. You know, I always go back to David Goggins. What would Goggins tell you? You know, it would just be to stay hard and carry on. You know, don't sit there and try to you can cry about yourself, or you can be like, okay, what can I do that will make my life better? And then you just
what do I know? What do I know? I remember, and again, we gotta get Pedja on this podcast. I think he would be happy. We can both invite him in the same LinkedIn thread.
Yeah. Let's just say, Pedja, you're coming.
When I finished the art and science of coaching, I don't know, did you go through the task?
What do you mean?
For the art and science of coaching?
What task?
The program, the art and science of coaching.
Yeah. Pedja was my teacher as well.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so last day of module 4, right? he gives us a test. They say, take it home, solve the test, and then we will talk about it. All right. Everyone takes it way too seriously. And I knew that this was just, okay, let's see where we are. This is kind of a snapshot, right? This is not a certification. And there was this one moment where he told us, okay, this is now a coaching situation, right? So what do you do? Like someone asked him, look, if I have a client and a client is doing this, what do I do? And Pedro's answer kind of just burned here. Do what you know to do. Do what your training says. Do what you always done. Do what you've been trained to do. And you will be okay.
You just always fall back to your training, right? This is the fundamental logic. You fall back to the like you try to don't reinvent the wheel, basically, right?
Yes. There is a phenomenal sentence that it always kind of, I carry it with me. I have two like kind of big philosophies. One is everything rises and falls on leadership by John Maxwell. And the second one, I don't remember who said it, but it goes something like this. We don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training.
Yes. Absolutely.
This is by far one of my favorite ones.
Which is kind of like going back to the motivation. It's if you're feeling like your days are going to shit or you're not getting things done, just start with like the small wins that you know you can control and you can have.
Yes.
You know, if you're a good cold caller, but you're crappy with emails, right? Just send your 10 emails, try your best, and then go back to your calls so at least you feel good about it, right? And then eventually things get better, you know, like, I mean, look at us. We started this podcast. I didn't even click the right recording button. And now
look at us now, almost trashing world famous authors like we are. Fantastic.
Indeed. And then, so going to the burnout then, like, I'm sure you've seen situations, right? So what would you say are some of the pitfalls to avoid to get into the sales burnout stage?
Overworking. I did. So this is a topic that is more talked about here in Europe rather than across the pond, as they would say. Well, one of the things I would say very crucial. I'm a huge proponent. Anyone who knows anything about me knows that I read a lot. It is just constantly developing your craft and skills. Like I learn because I read books, right? And then I also am a member of Slack channels and WhatsApp groups and stuff like that. And I always kind of try to learn. I always try to be just a little bit better than I was the day before, because I know the compounded knowledge when I'm on the phone, I'll use this small nugget that I read either in a book or I heard it in a podcast. And then it kind of comes natural to me, and I will keep the conversation going and achieve the goal, whatever the goal of the podcast was. Right? So for me, the constant learning is the way to go. And I mean, we don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training.
I mean, I think when it comes to burnout, it's I think it's risky sometimes, because if you're trying to learn too much, you can also get stuck in that. I know I was guilty of trying to learn everything about sales and kind of got stuck in it. I would say, like, for the burnout, the major thing is, again, it's trying to keep in aligned with how you're feeling. So like really this constant self-check of who you are, what you want to do. And I've seen plenty of people burn themselves out just because they're trying to do something they don't like. If cold calling is against your soul, if objection handling is not something you like, except
get out of sales.
just get out. Like it's
Get out of
just
sales,
how it
man.
is. Yeah, you have to pay. You be paid less money somewhere else, but if you're doing something you like, eventually the money will come. If you're trying to do a job you don't like because it pays well, eventually you spend that money in health, medicines, and all the other things.
Oh, for sure. Cool, man. All right, let's let's wrap it up. This was by far the weirdest episode that we had. But
Give us some time.
Completely forgetting what I wanted to say at one point.
Give us some
All
time.
right.
Give us some time.
So maybe
we'll be weirder.
let's try to maybe end with a nugget of wisdom. So
I'm gonna go for what I started with: sleep, exercise, eat healthy. Start there, and then you can do, and then the rest will be much easier.
I'll say to everyone listening that, okay, we feel you. We are both in sales for a long time, still doing sales. And the daily grind can really, really wear you down. So my advice would be try to find what's your purpose. Why are you doing this? What is something more than just money or like material things, something. So where does the passion lie? And this will give meaning to your work. This will elevate you to where you need to be.
True.
Yeah.
I think that's very valuable advice.
All right. So thanks everyone for sticking with us so far. Be sure to like us and subscribe. And next time, hopefully, we will have a guest, but we will keep it kind of wraps. Who will that be? So stay tuned for the next episode where we introduce our mystery guest. So
indeed.
Have a productive week, guys, and stay motivated.
All right. Ciao, ciao, Mario. Have a great day.